Hey everybody, welcome back to another Have You Seen It edition of Have You Seen It Lately? I'm your host, Matt Sunner. I'm happy you've decided to join us here on the DJB Productions Network. Today, I'm going to talk about a really fun movie I always really enjoyed. And again, if I didn't really enjoy it, why would it be on the channel, right? So I guess that goes without saying. But today we're talking about a movie that came out in 1986, and it posed the question, what if the heroes from the old pulp novels, action novels, what if they were real? Characters such as Mac Bolan, the Executioner, Remo Williams, aka the Destroyer. Remo Williams, again, if you're a fan of 80s movies, you'll remember, was a movie that came out in the 80s. And we'll talk about that at some point on this channel, I'm sure. But it poses the question, what if they were real? What if all of these novels were the stories, either true or somewhat true, maybe a little bit of elaboration, of their actual adventures? And these books were released in order to fund their activities. This movie is called Jake Speed. Came out March 1986. Had a really decent cast in it. Wayne Crawford starred as our hero Jake, and you may have seen him in some stuff here. You recognize his face. Not a lot of real big credits to his name, but he was really believable in this character. The premise of the story is a couple young American women are vacationing in Paris, and they get kidnapped by a gang of international white slavers. We come back and see the family is meeting with a member of the State Department, talking about everything that they're doing, trying to get the daughter back. And during this conversation, the father takes a real jab at his oldest daughter, who convinced the daughter that's been kidnapped to go and travel and see the world. And that is played by Karen Coppins. If you watch TV and movies in the 80s, I'm sure you've seen her. She had a co-starring role with Jim Carrey in the movie Once Bitten. I'm sure you probably have seen that, especially if you're a Jim Carrey fan. And then she had plenty of co-starring roles in shows like Fall Guy, Riptide, T.J. Hooker. She was on Knight Rider at one point, Love Boat, The A-Team, Full House, Dallas. So, I mean, if you were watching movies and TV in the 80s, odds are you've seen Karen. And as they're discussing all this stuff, the grandfather comes into the room and tells this guy from the State Department, you guys aren't doing enough. You need to hire somebody else. You need to find somebody like Remo or Mac Bolan, Doc Savage, or, in his words, in this case, I think Jake Speed would be the guy. He's asked, well, who are these guys? I never heard of these guys. And the old man throws these books on the table and he says, they defeat evil where it exists, Pinhead. And, they pick up the books and say, these are characters in novels. I mean, you figure, hey, senile old man, what the heck are you talking about? Go off, play somewhere. Leave this to professionals. What are you talking about? And later on, Karen Coppins, her character Margaret, or later on just short they call her Maggie, gets this letter from somebody claiming to be an associate of Jake Speed and to meet them at this bar. They explain to her that her sister's been kidnapped by a gang of international white slavers, and they want her to join them on this mission. They're going to get her sister back. And apparently they don't charge for doing this. Again, the book sales is how they fund everything. So she takes a little bit of convincing, because she's figuring, again, these guys are some whack jobs. And she's not sure to believe if it's real, but she's so racked with guilt, she figures, well, let's just see what they've got going on. So it leads her to Africa. She meets up with Jake and his associate Desmond, and they say that, hey, they've tracked them down to this country in Africa. Unfortunately, things are being complicated. The country's in the middle of a civil war, and just so many things go back and forth that constantly make Maggie wonder whether these guys are legit. She's still never sure. And as soon as she begins to believe that, hey, you guys are the real deal, something happens to kind of smash her confidence and think, like, what are you guys doing? So it is a great action adventure. Has some really good comedic points in there, especially when Maggie's getting frustrated and asks Jake and Des, "All right, well, These books are written by a guy named Reno Mellon. If you guys really write the books, who is Reno Mellon?" Des answers that it's Jake's favorite town and his favorite breakfast food. So again, it just frustrates her more. I don't want to give away too much of the movie because if you haven't seen this, I really want you to go check it out. It was done on a $5 million budget. It grossed just shy of $2 million at the box office. And it's really unfortunate because this is a movie that had a lot of potential to be something great. Unfortunately, you had some real big heavy hitters in the mid 80s releasing movies in the couple weeks prior to and after the release of Jake Speed. It was competing with Chuck Norris in Delta Force. It was competing with 9.5 Weeks, Molly Ringwald, and a bunch of other members of the Brat Pack in Pretty in Pink. Highlander was released the day after Jake Speed, along with, in that week, Gung Ho with Michael Keaton, Police Academy 3, The Money Pit with Tom Hanks, and Sylvester Stallone. Sylvester Stallone in his movie Cobra came out the week after Jake Speed. So this is unfortunately an independent studio release that just really did not have a prayer in the box, in the studio, in the theaters, compared to these other movies that were coming out with major Hollywood legends in them at that time. Real hot names. Obviously, your Stallone, Molly Ringwald, Tom Hanks, Steve Guttenberg and the crew in Police Academy, Chuck Norris, Delta Force. So, it was a bad timing for the release of this movie. And what really makes this movie great, and probably where a big chunk of its budget came from, is our villain. Our villain, played by the always wonderful John Hurt. And if I have to tell you who John Hurt is, you were definitely not watching movies in the late 70s and early 80s. I mean, John Hurt, over 200 acting credits to his name from 1962 to 2017 when he died. So, I mean, anything you see John Hurt in, he's great. And he plays this wonderfully sleazy white slave trader. And I think if you enjoy action-adventure movies, if you like some comedy, Jake Speed is a movie you should definitely check out if you had never seen it. It is available for rent on Amazon Prime. And again, in some of these episodes, I'm going to start kind of pointing out where you can maybe find some of these movies to revisit them if you have either never seen them or they are not currently in your video collection, whether it be on hard copies, DVD, Blu-ray, digital downloads, if that's what you're into now. It's a rent for very inexpensive on Amazon Prime if you have it. Tubi.com has it for free. There are commercials, but Tubi.com does not edit out content or time. So, again, not sponsored by them. Hey, if somebody at Tubi wants to throw us some cash, that would be great. But again, just trying to help everybody out as far as where you can find these movies. So, please, if you have an opportunity, check out Jake Speed. If you've seen Jake Speed before, please comment on the video. Let me know that you've seen it. Let me know what you thought about it. Am I right? Was it a great movie or was it crap? This is one of those movies I would have to say in this age of Hollywood remaking everything, rebooting everything. This is a movie that I would love to see with the right cast and the right script. I would love to see this remade or rebooted because it had a great premise and unfortunately was just lost in a sea of big names and big studio productions when it was released. So it died pretty quickly in the theaters. So I want to thank you for watching. If you're enjoying the show, like it, share it, subscribe to the network. Hit us up, click the notification bell so you get notifications of when we release new content. And until the next time, think of your favorite movies from when you were younger. Ask yourself, have you seen it lately? If not, maybe you should do something about that. Until next time, thanks for watching.